All right. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Education Abroad's Packing to Go Abroad with us today. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Becca.
And today we're going to be giving you all the info and some tips on how to make packing for your education abroad experience as smooth as possible so that you're prepared for you ever reach the airport. We are current education abroad peer ambassadors, meaning that we've both been abroad before. So a lot of the information that we are going to be giving you is things that we learned or things that we had wished we had known before we had gone abroad. And basically our goal is just to let you know what kinds of things need to be considered when you're preparing to pack for your education abroad experience. All right. So the first thing is to consider making your packing list. So when you're thinking about your packing list, think where are you going and for how long. I like making a packing list, and even a Pinterest board is really good because it helps you consolidate what you pack and will help you sort through what you want and what you need to bring with you on your experience abroad. It's also really nice because you can add on to your list as you think of things that you will need so that, right before you leave, you have an entire, month's worth of ideas of what you need. There's a lot to consider when packing to go abroad, and you've got limited space to take things with you. So you'll need to prioritize and make smart packing decisions, which is why we're here to help. So we'll be going over the things that you'll need to consider as well as tips and tricks that we have learned along the way. So, all right. So the first thing that you'll want to think about when thinking about packing for your education abroad experience is where you are going. Do some research to figure out the typical weather for your destination city. I always suggest to students to look up blog posts, YouTube videos, or even Pinterest boards to gain insight on what the weather is like and to get specific advice from people who have been in the area that you're going to. You might not find a blog or a YouTube video that is going to be for your specific city or your specific college, but there are YouTubers and people who have gone on education abroad experiences who will have done something within your country that can give you a little bit more of an insight to what you're going to be getting into. Also consider the city or the town that you are going to be in and how big it will be. So considering your environment, is it going to be urban? Is it going to be rural? Are you going to be doing a lot of walking? If you think you will be doing a lot of walking, consider about bringing comfortable walking shoes. And if you think the weather is going to be super rainy where you are, consider rain gear. However, I would recommend to keep in mind that you can definitely buy some of those things over in your destination country if you cannot fit it in your suitcase. So, all right. Cultural standards. So understand your host country's customs and expectations, as well as just respecting the environment that you're going to be in. For example, if you're going to be studying in Italy and you decide to go to a church, think about what you're going to be wearing. You want to be respectful of the local culture, so let's say you decided to wear a dress to the church, you would want to make sure that it covers your shoulders or that you would bring a cardigan so that you could do so. Also, dressing to blend in is important because it allows you to kind of get integrated into the local culture a little bit better instead of identifying you as a tourist. This just, I personally felt, helps with your education experience and how you see the country and how other people will treat you. All right, another thing to consider is when and how long you are going to be there. So when are you going? Are you going to be going in winter, spring, summer, fall? As for like clothes, layering is really important to think about in order to adapt to the changing weather. But not only does it depend on what seasons, but think about how long you're going to be there and what seasons you're going to experience while you're there. you'll want to consider that so you know how much clothing to bring and the clothing that is acceptable for each season. Okay, the next thing that we are going to discuss is accommodations. Knowing where you will be staying will help you know what to pack. So for an instance, if you're going to be doing a homestay, the chances are that linens and towels will be provided to you. If you're not, however, and you're going to be staying in a dorm or private housing, it might be up to you to have those on hand. So towels and linens can take up a lot of room in your suitcase. So my recommendation would be to wait until you get to your dorm room, or you can always contact the university to see what you will need and then just buy there in the destination country. Another really important thing to think about when packing is adapters and converters. Converters convert the voltage, which is different in different countries, and adapters adapt the plug. So here on the screen, you can see that these are the different plug sockets around the world. Here in America, we generally use a two-pronged plug, but in places like the UK, you're more likely to see a three-pronged plug. So that's really important in order for you to be able to use your appliances, but they also run on different voltages, so you run the risk of potentially frying your electronics if you don't go ahead and get a converter or an adapter. Converters convert the voltage, like I said, and adapters adapt the plugs. And the best places that I would say to check to look would be places like Best Buy or online retailers like Amazon, which both of them offer a pretty wide variety. Another thing that we talked about was consider a travel power strip. So if you need like more than one thing to be plugged in, travel power strips oftentimes will have that adapter / converter ability so that you'll be able to have like a surge protector on all of your electronics that you are taking with you.
It's also pretty important to mention that most expensive electronics, like your laptop charger, will already have a built-in converter, so that's not something that you would need to buy. And cheaper electronics like your hair straightener, your blow dryer, or an electric razor, you are better off buying those items in your host country because, one, it'll take up space in your suitcase to carry, and then also because of the differing voltages here in the US and in other countries, you'd have to buy a converter, so your best bet is just to buy those in your host country.
Definitely. Okay. The next thing that we're going to talk about is understanding the voltage. So the US typically runs anywhere from 110 to 120 voltage, but the rest of the world runs at a different rate. So I found this chart here that kind of breaks that down for you and just kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking at. So down at the bottom, you can see that US runs at about 120, whereas if you were to go to the UK or New Zealand, it would be quite a bit higher than that. And so you do run the risk of frying your electronics if you don't have an adapter or a converter in order to help with that. So another really important part is to think about how you are traveling. So consider the airline that you are going on, that you are going with, and consider your destination. Luggage restrictions vary by airline, so just make sure to check the weight and how many pieces of luggage you are allowed to take so that you can accommodate and know how to pack. You don't want to get to the airport and find out that you have to pay overage fees. So just be careful in knowing weight and the amount of pieces of luggage that you can check into the front desk. As always, double, triple check the weight of your luggage just to make sure, because even if you were, 5 pounds over, you would have to pay the $100, up to $100 in fees. So definitely want to watch out for that. And also pack essentials on your carry-on. We'll go a little more into that a little bit later, but everything that you don't want to part with, I would definitely put in your carry-on. It's really important to do that. So the next part that I'm going to talk about is understanding the luggage. So there's several different types of luggage that you can have when you are traveling. So the first one is the check luggage, and this is the main suitcase that you are going to check into the front gate when you're getting your ticket. And this is what is weighed at the beginning and what can get those overage charges, and you want to make sure that it's under the weight limit. Check with your airline that you were traveling with to see how many pieces of checked luggage you were allowed to take, because this does vary from the flight and the company. Carry-ons are what you are allowed to take with you on the plane. So this can be anything like a backpack, a duffel bag, tote bag, or even a small rolling suitcase. This does have to fit in the overhead compartment or under your seat, so keep in mind with that. If you do something like a small rolling suitcase that cannot fit under your seat on your flight, and if you are one of the last people to board, there might not be enough space in the overhead compartments, and rolling carry-ons might be subjected to being stowed away until after the flight. So I always recommend to use a backpack personally, just because I know that it will fit under the seat and there's not any chance of me being parted with it. And we'll talk about in just a little bit what to pack in your carry-on. But the third thing that you can take, it depends on the airline that you're going with, because some airlines will allow you to take a personal item, some won't. But a personal item is considered to be like a purse or a travel pillow. But like I said, again, check with the airline that you're traveling with to make sure that you are allowed to take one of these.
All right, so what am I actually going to pack? Okay, so starting with your carry-on. Like Jillian mentioned before, be sure to check your specific airline's policies about baggage. If you're flying with American Airlines, be sure to read the American Airline policies on baggage. Though they are similar, they all slightly differ. Carry-on bag and a personal item will be the bags you carry with you while you make your way to your final destination. Between your carry-on and your personal item, you should pack the following essentials: enough items to last a few days, travel-sized toiletries, and then items that you wouldn't want to lose or items you cannot live without. In addition to these items, a folder with important documents is suggested. In your personal item, which can be a purse or a backpack, if your airline allows it, it is helpful to have your passport, ID, boarding pass, wallet, and phone readily available, as these are the items that you will need to show throughout security checks. We suggest packing an extra change of clothes in the event that your flight is delayed, your luggage is lost, or simply you would like to change your clothes immediately upon arrival. Travel-sized toiletries are also recommended because when you first get to your destination, you probably will not be going out to the store straight away to buy a bottle of shampoo, so having a bottle of shampoo, conditioner, or lotion or face wash might be recommended to have for the first couple of hours that you're there. Also, these toiletries will be used during your weekend travel trips, so you can refill them so you don't have to bring a whole bottle of something. In my carry-on, I packed my toothbrush and my toothpaste because my travel time was over 36 hours, and so I brushed my teeth at my layovers to feel refreshed. And so also just mindful of toiletries. Unless you really love a particular brand of a personal care product, just wait and buy that stuff abroad. Okay, so I mentioned an important folder. So we recommend, as a whole across the board, Study Abroad Office recommends bringing a folder full of your important papers. Within this folder of important papers, you should include a copy of your passport and your visa in the event that you lose your passport. It'll be much easier to prove that you had a passport to expedite the process of getting a new one if you have a color photo copy of your passport. If you are bringing medications abroad, I would also bring the original and a copy letter from your physician stating your need for the prescription. In addition to that, during security checks, you will often be asked, what is your purpose in this country? You can tell them that you are a student and that you are studying. Sometimes they will require proof, so we recommend having a letter of acceptance from your program for this. If you want a letter, you can request a letter from your program. They can give you a nice letter on nice letterhead, or also the email of you getting accepted to your education abroad program was also accepted. Also, sometimes they will ask you to prove where you are staying, so having the address of your host university and your accommodations is also helpful. This often happens at custom checks or the visa counter when you arrive in your host country. Also, we recommend having a copy of your bank card / debit card, just in the event that you do lose it. It'll be much easier to cancel it with the number. And also have a copy of your travel insurance form, just in case of an emergency. Keeping this folder with you in your carry-on and also in your weekend travel bag will be vital just in case of emergencies. And then also we recommend, in addition to the physical copies, to have an online folder that you can share with your friends and family in the actual event of an emergency, but just to err on the side of caution. All right, so packing the big bag. So when packing, you might be torn about what items to bring. Our best advice is to pack for your life. Will you be taking classes or going on an internship? Don't forget your laptop, your charger, or your backpack. But be mindful of space-saving techniques such as buying notebooks and pens while abroad. On the way there, they will just take up space. Some useful advice that I got while packing was do not pack for the worst case scenario. Meaning don't pack an outfit to meet the president of your host country or to go skiing if you're going to Barcelona, because chances are that's not going to happen, so you don't need those items and they will just take up space in your bag. But also, like we said, pack for your life. Do you want to go hiking while you're abroad? Maybe consider bringing hiking boots. Do you hope to go to the theater or to museums? Maybe bring a nice theater or museum going outfit. Also, bring your favorite daily items, such as your reusable water bottle or your favorite sweatshirt. All right, so like Jillian said, making a list. Before you sit down and begin packing, it's helpful to sit down and make a list of all the things you plan to bring. You can start this list whenever, but absolutely do not wait until the start. Start at the day that you are about to leave or the day before you leave. Packing requires preparation. Do not be that person that doesn't prepare and ends up forgetting to bring a winter coat to Europe in the middle of December. Trust me, it happens. You can look up suggested lists online. They're easy to find and tailored to your needs. We suggest using Pinterest and blogs and other YouTube videos. You can Google things like Study Abroad Packing List or United Kingdom Study Abroad Packing List. Definitely tailor them to your needs. When you are looking at lists, you might notice that they suggest not bringing outfits, but articles of clothing that go well together, so you can mix and match and feel like you're wearing the same thing over and over again. After you have your list, save it and use it as an inventory of all the items that you will be bringing. We cannot stress enough that you should not buy a new wardrobe before leaving to your host country. Oftentimes, you will almost certainly purchase items, and also you'll notice that the styles in America differ vastly from the styles around the world. All right, so now that you know what you're going to pack, how are you going to pack your suitcase? So this infographic has some nice little packing tips, such as putting bags on the bottom of your shoe and also utilizing the space inside your shoe, such as rolled up socks, t-shirts, underwear, or anything else that would fit. Place shoes foot to toe to maximize space. Also double bag any kind of liquid to ensure that nothing will spill out. And if you want to use a space-saving bag, definitely be mindful of the weight, because they can go from 20 pounds to 100 pounds really fast. Also, another technique to be mindful of, packing your heavier items in your carry-on, even though you will be carrying it. If you choose to use a rolling suitcase, they don't weigh that suitcase. So if you want to pack your 3 pairs of shoes and your winter coat in that one, I would suggest doing it there to save the weight for your checked bag. All right, talking about your weekend trip packing list. So this list is going to be pretty similar to your carry-on. Your weekend travel bag will likely be the same as your carry-on bag or backpack. So make sure that when you bring a bag, you'll be able to use it as a weekend travel bag, i.e. not a small tote bag, but a small rolling suitcase. And also be mindful, if you want to bring a duffel bag, make sure you're comfortable carrying it from destination to destination, such as from your metro stop to your hostel or to your Airbnb. Trust me, you won't want to lug around your really large suitcase. And your weekend travel bag, you should bring that folder of important documents, your passport, travel items like headphone, phone charger, travel snacks, books, if your travel time is long enough to permit it. And then a weekend away will truly test your packing skills. You don't want to bring too much and you don't want to bring too little. This is why packing comfortable clothes at the beginning and all clothes that match is key, because you'll have a limited wardrobe and it's good to have mix and match pieces. We suggest lots of solid colors and neutrals, plus that's the style for abroad. We also recommend using the travel size toiletries that you brought at the beginning. Refill them and use them as your weekend toiletries. And then also flip-flops for when you shower at hostels or Airbnbs. You don't want to be very personal in someone else's shower, so we recommend that. And then if you are interested, a travel towel Available online are travel towels that dry very quickly because you don't want to be stuck lugging around your really gross wet towel that you brought from home. All right, and then some other items that were brought up to us that we wish we would have known about before we left. A watch. You're going to be traveling a lot through different time zones, so you might not want to get your phone out a lot and check the time. Also a luggage lock. A luggage lock is something that I bought while abroad, so it's certainly possible, but also having it when you go is no problem at all. This is to lock your bag while you leave it in a hostel, or if you want to lock your backpack while you're commuting to school and you have your laptop in it. Ziploc bags, this is just for organization. A lot of times through security checks, you'll have to put all your liquids in a Ziploc bag. So having them, because they're sometimes not available to purchase in other countries, is something that you would want to bring abroad. Also a raincoat. This is something that you can buy there or bring if you already have. But just like in Lexington, you are going to be faced with the elements while you were abroad, like rain. So having a raincoat is certainly helpful. A travel pillow for comfort while you're traveling. And then also a portable charger. This is something that I was told to bring before going abroad, and it's my number one recommendation because there's nothing worse than being out and about and being stuck with a dead phone. All right, so here are more helpful tips and tricks. So one of the things we recommend, like I said before, is a quick dry towel. And then another one is to not buy a brand new wardrobe and also a brand new backpack. Though you will be faced with the elements, there are certainly ways to accommodate walking to school in the rain, like an umbrella, or if you are traveling with your laptop, simply put it inside of a trash bag and then put that within your backpack to kind of create a waterproof lining. And then also, if you're considering bringing professional attire, ask your program. Definitely you can email them and ask them if it's appropriate to bring something like this. And that's something that we do recommend doing.
All right. So like I said, we are EPAs, and this is actually our second semester doing this. And so we wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of what we did and didn't do and to learn from our mistakes. So we asked around some of the other education abroad peer ambassadors, and this is what they had to say. So Madeline says, you will bring back more stuff than you take, which is just so true because you will want to go shopping there. You'll want to bring back souvenirs for yourself. You'll want to bring back souvenirs for your family. You probably buy clothes while you're there. And so you'll want to budget not only like your money, but you'll also want to budget space within your suitcase so that you know how much room you have left in order to buy souvenirs and take those home.
And then just like Jillian said, for budgeting for space, to leave plenty, like Abby suggested, leaving plenty of room for souvenirs. There's going to be 1,000,001 things that you're going to want to bring back with you that are special to you from your time abroad. So definitely try and budget the best you can in your suitcase for that.
Yep. Ben had some really good advice and said, bring some kind of carry-on or a smaller suitcase. He said he only brought 2 huge suitcases, which made traveling while he was abroad kind of difficult. When you are traveling on those weekend trips, you don't want to lug around a giant suitcase because that just makes it a little more difficult to be mobile. So what we would recommend is making sure that either your carry-on can double as a weekend bag, or you can pack a duffel bag in your checked bag. That way you can just use that as a travel bag when you go traveling throughout your weekends when you're there.
Another tip from Anita last semester, Casey suggested bringing scarves, especially blanket scarves. This tip comes specifically, Casey studied abroad in France, and typical European fashion involves accessorizing with scarves, but also they have a very practical purpose. You can use them as an actual blanket when you are traveling on the plane or on the bus, or you can fold them up to be a pillow, and then also still look really cool as soon as you get off the plane or the bus.
Yep. Brenna suggests not to pack too casually. So they're kind of like we talked earlier about how to dress in the country that you're going to. different parts of the world, kind of like, for example, Europe has different standards and different styles of dress. So where some people might think that it is totally comfortable and totally cool to wear sweatpants out and about, like when they're doing grocery shopping, maybe in another country that's not as acceptable or not as common. And it also depends, like, for example, when I was in Japan, a lot of people dressed up like business casual for their classes. So you don't want to dress too casually and be underdressed when you're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then speaking to that, that is something that you can ask your program about the like professional attire, or what do students usually wear to class? Should I be mindful and pack things? That would be something that I would wear like that. And then also, it also just packing too casually, just be mindful of the cultural customs, like do not expose your shoulders in a church, things like that. And you can easily research things like that online. And then at the end of our presentation, we have a link to the ISEP handbook, so you can easily read an entire like encyclopedia article about your country, and it does mention things like that in it. Another tip from Eva Lauren, she said, weigh your bags before you leave. We cannot stress this enough. There's nothing more embarrassing than getting to the check-in counter at the airport and your bag being 5 pounds overweight, and you have to open it up and take things out of it, or you have to pay the 100 or however much upcharge fee. So we recommend just weigh it, have your mom weigh it, have your brother weigh it, just weigh it 2 or 3 times before you go to make sure.
Yep, definitely don't want to have to pay that overage charge. All right, and the last bit of advice was to bring your favorite medicines that you use, like ibuprofen or NyQuil. I definitely would say that this is a good idea. However, I would just say to be careful and do your research and just make sure that the medicines that you are wanting to take are legally allowed in the country. It depends, if you're wanting to take Excedrin for your headaches, or if you're wanting to take allergy medicine like Sudafed, just make sure that it is allowed, because it will get confiscated in customs if they find it and it's not legal. So yeah, if you can bring medicine, just make sure that it's legally allowed to be in that country.
And you can look up the legality of certain medications on your country's embassy page within like the U.S. government websites. And then also, if you are so inclined, you can call the embassy and ask directly. There, you can Google the numbers for your local embassies online too.
Yep. That is very true. All right, we have reached the end of our presentation. So just really appreciate you guys watching this, and I hope this helped.
If you guys have questions, feel free to email them to educationabroad@uky.edu. Someone will be there to answer your questions if you have any questions about packing abroad or your trip abroad in general.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
This is just a research page for some of the things that we mentioned, like the ISEP country handbooks, the Pinterest packing list, luggage locks, quick drying towel, the travel adapter, and the portable charger.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video with us.
Thanks for tuning in.